It now becomes the duty of the court to impose sentence in this case, and that is to see that this defendant never again has the opportunity to walk the streets of our community as a free man.
Hello, my name is Paco Rivera, and this is the Maximum Sentence channel, where we discuss recent crimes and convictions and a maximum penalty handed down. You can also follow me on Facebook for updates. There will be a link to my Facebook in the description below. Michael Harrison Hunt of Panama City, Florida, was sentenced to 3 years in prison for trafficking drugs beginning in the year 2013, and he was released in 2015. By the year 2018, he was charged with sexual trafficking as he was forcing his girlfriend to work as a prostitute, and he lived off those earnings. By April of 2019, Michael Hunt was due in court for a hearing on that case on a Monday, and as he would learn, additional charges for the sexual assault of a minor who has accused him, as well as aggravated assault. You can see here that Michael Hunt arrived at the courthouse, but then turned around and walked out quietly and disappeared soon after learning of the new charges. His lawyer was later forced to report to the judge. It seems Mr. Hunt has vacated the courthouse. A warrant for his arrest was issued, and police began looking for him at that time. An ex-girlfriend of Michael Hunt would testify in court in September of last year, 2023, that Michael Hunt had told her sometime after he vanished from that court hearing back in 2019 that he needs to, quote, get rid of a girl that will testify against him because he had sex with her when she was a minor. Well, 3 days after that Monday court hearing back in April of 2019, on Thursday, April 4th, Michael Hunt drove to Pine Mountain, Georgia, and he turned off his cell phone. He then drove back to Panama City, Florida, to the home where that girl would testify against him was residing. The girl he recently told his ex-girlfriend that he needs to get rid of. Reports indicate that Michael Hunt was accompanied by another man. However, the identity of that accomplice has never been known in this case. At about 10:30 that night of April 4th, Hunt and the other man pretended to be pizza delivery drivers and knocked on the door of that home. First of all, the family should have found that highly suspicious, especially if nobody had ordered a pizza. I wouldn't open my door for a pizza delivery person if I hadn't ordered a pizza. Would you? And secondly, why would it take two men to deliver a pizza? I don't know who opened the door that night, but it appears from the record that Michael Hunt was known to the family. He was already an acquaintance of the family, so why bother with the pretense of being a pizza delivery driver? At some point, the two men made their way inside the house, and Michael Hunt chased down who he thought was the girl that was going to testify against him back into the rear of the house. The girl began screaming and yelled out, "Daddy, help me." During the murder trial last year, the girl's father testified very emotionally that Michael Hunt chased his daughter into the back of the home, and he heard her yelling, "Daddy, help me." He tried to help, but he got shot in the throat. He then made the decision to run out of the house and escaped as Hunt continued shooting. His thinking was that the only way he was going to save his daughter was by saving himself first and seeking help, which does make sense.
And I heard my daughter, Lexie. She said, "Dad, help me." And she said, "Please don't kill me." And then she heard shots. I knew at that point I had to get out of the house because I knew that if I didn't die there, that he was going to shoot me again on the way out.
As I said earlier, the man who accompanied Michael Hunt has never been identified. Michael Hunt then shot the girl twice in the back of the head, killing her. That girl's name is Alexandra Elise Peck, known to everyone as Lexie. And as it turns out, she was not the girl that was set to testify against Michael Hunt in court. That girl, the girl that was sexually assaulted by Hunt when she was a minor and was going to testify, whose identity has not been disclosed to the public, had apparently heard the commotion in the house and went to hide in the bathroom. She also heard Michael Hunt speaking and clearly and positively recognized who it was from his voice.
He attempted to kill one of the victims that was going to testify against him. In the process, he ended up killing a totally different teenager.
The murder victim, Lexie, and that girl, it is reported, have very similar appearances. They have the same hairstyle and color, likely resulting in the misidentification by Michael Hunt. Michael Hunt not only killed Lexie and shot her father in the throat, he also shot 2 others in the home before fleeing. 3 of the 4 victims that were shot had survived. Fortunately for the girl hiding in the bathroom, she was never seen by Michael Hunt and not harmed. Michael Hunt went on trial for murder in September of last year, 2023. The almost 4-year delay was caused by the outbreak of COVID-19 and a major hurricane that went through Florida during that time period. 2 of the 3 victims that sustained gunshot wounds and survived are not being identified in public records, as well as, like I said, the actual girl that Michael Hunt was looking for, who was not harmed. The only witness to testify being named is Danny Scoggins, reported as Lexie's father. Danny Scoggins, as I said, was shot in the throat, and he now requires a device to help him breathe and speak. He knew Michael Hunt well. He refers to him as Mike, and he knows that Michael Hunt was the man in his house that night and was the man who shot him in the throat while he was trying to get to his daughter.
I recognized Mike's face. And then I also recognized his voice. He has a very distinctive voice.
What exactly was the relationship between Danny Scoggins and Michael Hunt is not clear, but they knew each other. I'm guessing that Danny Scoggins is actually a stepfather, as other reports list Lexie's biological father as a man named William Matthew Peck. One day after the shootings, the media was reporting that Michael Hunt was being sought by authorities. One day later, that tells me that it was known immediately who the shooter was, most likely based on the accounts of surviving witnesses in the home that night. Lexie was killed on Thursday, April 4th of the year 2019. Michael Hunt was located and taken into custody on the following day, Friday, April 5th. Once again, this tells us that authorities had immediate knowledge of who the shooter was that shot 4 people, killing 1 and injuring 3 others.
Are you guilty?
No, I'm not guilty.
There is no physical evidence obtained by forensics crews at the crime scene, and no DNA or fingerprints of either Michael Hunt or his unknown accomplice. All the state had to rely on was witness testimony and circumstantial evidence that included how Michael Hunt's cell phone was looked into forensically, and they determined by GPS tracking and cell phone towers pinging that Hunt drove to Georgia prior to the murder and turned his cell phone off. He turned it back on the next day, giving him ample time to drive from Georgia to Panama City and commit the murders during that time period without his cell phone being on. He never gave an explanation as to why he turned off his phone, but I think we all know why.
And the second thing is that when you look at the AT&T records,
My cellular phone wasn't even on from 3 o'clock that day all the way to the next day. My cell phone wasn't even on at that time. I did not do it. It's clear that I didn't do it.
Michael Hunt, despite all the criminal activity he has engaged in throughout his lifetime, appears to be fairly well educated. He is well spoken. He served in the U.S. military. My personal thoughts from researching this case is that Hunt appears to have that same formula, so to speak, as death row inmates Richard Glossip and Ivan Cantu, two other cases that I previously covered, of believing that he can talk his way out of any situation, regardless of the mountain of evidence against him. He is a good talker.
I forgive this family for accusing me of something that I'm sure that they know I didn't do. The second thing I'd like to say is I think that it's very cowardice to want an innocent man to go to prison for something that they know I didn't do. I did not shoot this person. I was not involved in that. And I think that the evidence was overwhelming that I did not do this.
Hunt has also said that members of the family in that home had rented a place from him not too long ago, but that he had to kick them out for failure to pay rent. And that because of the animosity from him kicking them out from where they were living, they made up the story that he was the shooter. He also mentions how two of the witnesses in the home, whom were also victims, stated that the shooter was a tall, skinny black man, and Michael Hunt has used that in his defense since he is a fairly heavier individual than described by the victims. But just like Glossip and Cantu, the jury did not buy any of Michael Hunt's stories. In September of last year, 2023, following a 7-day trial, Michael Hunt was found guilty of the murder of Alexandra, Lexie, Elise Peck, and the attempted murder of the three others.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of attempted first-degree murder as charged in the indictment.
The jury had deliberated for only 15 minutes to make their decision. During the sentencing phase, the jury voted 10-2 for death.
We, the jury, find by a vote of 10-2 that Michael Harrison Hunt should be sentenced to death.
In Florida, a unanimous vote is not required. And a judge in Panama City made it official this past Friday, January 19th, 2024, by sentencing Michael Hunt to the death penalty.
The court sentences you, Michael Harrison Hunt, to death in a manner prescribed by law. After a careful review of the aggravating factors determined to exist beyond a reasonable doubt, which far outweigh the mitigating circumstances established by a greater weight of the evidence, makes clear that a sentence of death is the only appropriate penalty in this case.
Please remember to subscribe here on YouTube for more of these true crime stories. You can also follow me on Facebook for updates. There will be a link to my Facebook in the description below. I'm Paco Rivera. Take care and